Hi, my name is Lisa Lagerstrom, and I'm doing my presentation on the influence of the British Empire on Pakistan. And I'm only covering just a couple components just because there's so many aspects of Pakistani culture that the British influenced due to the long reign that they had in that area. And it's been really interesting to learn about really how it wouldn't be Pakistan without this influence. Both with the positive and the negative. And I wanted to go back to really why the British had this influence and this reign over Pakistan. Because we've talked a little bit about partition in class, but I wanted to go prior to that. And it really started with a company called the East India Company, and that was a British company, and they dealt with raw materials like, coal, gold, silk, things of that nature. And they basically created this wealth, and they eventually had authority over these people. And eventually the Indian people didn't enjoy this authority, obviously, and so they revolted, and that was around the 1850s. And in 1857 they had this Great Revolution, and after that this company decided that it would be better to have the rule go to Queen Victoria. And so in 1858, that's really when British India was established, and it lasted until partition in 1947, so almost 100 years, which is crazy. So obviously they're going to have a lot of influence over this part of the world. And so first off, I wanted to talk about their language. So essentially their laws, along with their constitution, is written in English, which I found really interesting. And a lot of their schools teach English alongside Urdu, which is the national language. And so, but when I was looking at statistics, it really seems as if it's less than 8% that actually speak English in this part of the world. And so I don't know if it's much of an influence now, but it did play a huge part historically in this country. Obviously, if their constitution is written in English. So we see a huge influence of British culture there. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was the cricket team. They have a national Pakistani cricket team, which is great, and it's really the most popular sport in Pakistan. It's really comparable to baseball for us. They have, essentially at one time there's 22 players out on the field, 11 on each team. They have 2 umpires, and they actually have 2 batters out. One is actually hitting the ball, and one is running. And essentially, like that 3-legged post that you see there is called a wicket, and it kind of is similar to a home base in our baseball terms, or just a base in general, because they have to get to that in order to get a run. That's what they're called, is a run, kind of similar to baseball as well. So I tried with my heart and soul to get a video of the cricket team playing, because they have really awesome videos on YouTube, and I encourage you to look them up. I tried really hard and I couldn't get it to work, so unfortunately it'd be much more fun to watch them play than hear me explain it. But yeah, it's actually really interesting, and I totally want to start this BYU Idaho cricket team. So after we talked about that in class, I'm ready, and someone just needs to help me start it. So okay. Next thing I wanted just to cover is their government, because their government is extremely similar to ours. They have 3 branches like we do: the executive, judiciary, judiciary, and legislative. And their duties are defined in their constitution, and they're furthered in amendments. And so that's really identical to, our government. Theirs is a little bit more unstable, obviously, that we've talked about. They've struggled with national identity. But they have it really reminds me of England, the way their government is set up. They have a prime minister. Their executive branch is called the Parliament, which we hear in England a lot. And so they also have a president, kind of like we do, but essentially their president seems more of like a figurehead. And so I have a picture of the Prime Minister on the left and the President on the right. And the President, or the Prime Minister, was actually instated this July. And so, because of the last one had some allegations against him, and so he was removed. And so anyway, it's been really interesting to learn about all the influences that they had, and they actually have a lot of similar things that we do. And so anyway, I'm grateful for the chance that I've had to learn a little bit more about this, and I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Thanks so much.